This may come as a shock to some of you, but Taurox is pretty good. In fact, you can make the argument that the Brass Bull is kind of beastly. When it's the Cloven Ones, the Forsaken of the Dark Gods, facing off against their Chosen, it's beneficial to have the Mad Cow on your side. Archaon the Everchosen, Taurox the Brass Bull, Beastmen versus Chaos. Let's get it poppin'. On one side, we've got Flying Taco, commanding the furries, and the Brass Bull is at the helm. A lot of things can make a Lord strong in Total War Warhammer, but for Taurox, it's a combination of resilience and damage output. Huge effective HP pool, and you combine his high base health with Brass Body for that melee defense and 40% ward save. It's on a 120-second cooldown, very strong ability. He has tons of combat steroids and 500 weapon strength, majority AP before any of those even kick in. Perfect Lord for chopping through hordes of Chaos Warriors or even for dueling the mighty Archaon. You'll be joined by a Spirit Leech Deathcaster and a Jabberslife, whose spurting bile blood and Aura of Madness can be quite effective in a big ol' scrum. And due to a general lack of ranged options here, it's almost always what you'll see when these two factions square off. 2 Chaos Spawn with their Poison Mandibles, 2 Bestigors, bunch of Ungor Herd, some Poison Warhounds, and the Grog Hooves of Wolves Run, making this a very poison-focused build, actually, which is a smart way to try and win the grind. It's not always easy to outgrind Chaos, but Beastmen do have a lot of armor piercing, and if you're lowering all of their stats and their survivability with poison, then things are going to be looking pretty good for you. Chaos, on the other hand, is licking their lips with anticipation, commanded by the fearsome Blood Og Mine. They know their time of sentence is close at hand, with Warhammer 3 just over the horizon, but the warriors under Archaon might have to wait a little bit longer to get the love they so richly deserve. For now, it's Marauders, Forsaken, Great Weapons and Mirror Guard with a horde of Skirmish Cav and a Goon Squad consisting of the Everchosen and 2 Feral Manticores. Standard kit for your boy Archie, Slayer of Kings, Standard Die, Burning Head, Fire Cloak, and Fireball. He has a multitude of ways to put you in the dirt, but it's usually his Burning Heads, and when he unleashes Drachnian, the End of Empires, kicks his dueling prowess into a tier all its own that lets him truly take over battles. Wait, wrong universe, I think. At least Archaon has arms. He's no Failbadon. Let's get it going. Looks like we are on ultra unit size for this battle. Means units will be a bit tankier than usual, particularly the single entities, because weapon damage doesn't really scale. But I'm going to be very curious to see if Skirmish Cav will retain its position as some of the best multiplayer units in Warhammer 3. Units like Horsemasters and Centaurs with throwing axes will have a more difficult time, I think, being hounded by Chaos Furies and Seekers of Slanesh, and all these units will be moving over 100 speed, but there's a reason you see them so much here. The low armor of the Bray Herds make them somewhat susceptible to the Steppe Tribe style of play, but looking at the builds here, I'd argue the Beastmen have the melee advantage, especially with the addition of that Jabberslife. Fireball arcing forth, trying to take out that Shaman, didn't do a whole lot of damage. I don't think magic missiles scale on ultra unit size, so those magic missile plays will deal a little bit less damage than you'd see on large or medium unit size too. Interesting developments for the Beastmen, though. It's not often that you see they're on the losing side of the mobility game. Chaos has a lot more speed on the field than the Bray Herds do. 2 Feral Manticores going for a goon play on the Great Bray Shaman in the back. Lore of Deathcaster might get gooned out here, but it looks like some Chaos Spawn are there to support. Bestigors coming in and, as expected, Burning Head to clear it out and allow those Feral Manticores to escape. And a lot of times, when you're casting those kind of spells, you're not doing that because you expect it to deal a lot of damage. Those are Bestigors. Their armor will do a good job of protecting them from wind spells. You're just doing that to create space and allow your single entities to escape from what could have been a relatively sticky situation. Poisoned and surrounded by a bunch of Chaos Spawn, generally not where Manticores want to be. Now, the other element of these Chaos Spawn here is, of course, using them like traditional monstrous infantry, and in that role, Beastmen Chaos Spawn are the best in the series, because they have poison. They will be debuffing the entire Chaos front line, any unit that engages, whether it be Chaos Warriors with great weapons, whether it be these Mirror Guard. They'll all have their killing power reduced, their speed reduced, and their vigor reduced, which also means their armor values take a hit and makes it easier for the high base weapon strength of Chaos Spawn to carve through. So if you're the Beastmen, this is a highly sensual experience. This is exactly what you want from your Bestigor and Monstrous Infantry combination. If you're Chaos, yeah, run the hell away if you can. Good start for Flying Taco, who's now committing his Jabber Daddy to the fray. Pushing through, rumbling, bumbling, stumbling through both armies and bull rushing down the Mirror Guard, which is actually not the best target for him because their high leadership and immunopsychology makes that Aura of Madness a little bit less effective. Still though, the People's Elbows are always a fun time, and while that's a cinematic experience for sure, this Jabberslife might have just overcommitted, because the Feral Manticores and Archaon the Everchosen are waiting, and a single entity, any single entity in the game, fighting against all three of those at once, is gonna get taken to Pound Town. There's nothing for it. That Jabberslife needs to get away, but might not be able to, because now Horse Masters and more Cavs coming in from the rear. That Jabber down to half HP almost instantaneously, and that is a blunder for sure. Losing the Jabber here would be a huge loss. There's no heals going his way. Might be able to get regen for them in campaign, but that is not a thing in multiplayer, and that Abomination has seen better days. Looks like it might be able to escape, unless the Manticore is able to chase it down. Yeah, it's moving into the center of the Beastmen formation, so I think it will rally, but how much more damage can it do with only a sliver of health left? I guess we'll see. The skirmish play from Chaos has been really good so far. Infantry fight trending a little bit towards the Cloven ones, but overall, I wouldn't say either side has taken a commanding lead at this point. I will say, these Forsaken are about to have a bad time. One thing that Flying Taco's done exceptionally well all game long so far is keeping his monstrous infantry in and amongst his own regular foot troops. And it's leading to great engagements where the Chaos infantry just breaks almost immediately. Like, Forsaken simply cannot take on Ungor Herd and Chaos Spawn at the same time. It's not going to be good for them at all. They don't have enough armor. They don't have enough survivability to survive those kind of engagements. Another Burning Head coming through from Archaon, but kind of lacking in targets here. There's not going to be any lines of archers sitting in the back shooting at a single entities. Most of the infantry is either Ungor Herd, which sure you can Burning Head, but won't generate tons of value, or Bestigors that have enough armor to survive those kinds of wind spells. Jabber has returned back into the fray now next to Taurox the Brass Bull. Manticores are both rampaged, and that's a poor location for them to lose control. Sure, that Jabberslife is only on slivers of health left, but certainly has enough killing power to see that Feral Manticore off, and Chaos Spawn are surrounding Archaon the Everchosen and the other Feral Manticore, while Taurox the Brass Bull moves in for the kill. That could get really dicey for the Everchosen. You do not want to be getting poison debuffed and have all that mass surrounding you while Taurox the Brass Bull is beating on you with his rune-tortured axes, and that's definitely an overextension from Archaon too. Yeah, he's in a bad way with some worse Beastmen. Needs to escape. Not sure he's going to be able to. Dorgar, push through, baby. Get the hell out of there. Archaon's one of the only reliable tools Chaos has for killing Taurox. The Horse Masters and the Marauder Horsemen aren't going to do it with their javelins. They aren't throwing axes. They don't have enough AP to hurt 130 armor. And the Jabberslife, my beautiful beast, has fallen. And he can't get up. Spirit Leech hitting Archaon, draining his health. And quietly, the Groghooves of Wolf's Run have been mulching a bunch of units in the background, clearing off a lot of the mobility on the Chaos side. Slayer of Kings slicing through the Bestigors. And the armored infantry of Chaos is actually won against the Chaos Spawn and all that poison. Chaos seems to be taking a bit of a lead here, at least in terms of the melee fight. It's not like they have a ton of infantry left. The entire battlefield, this desert kingdom, is littered with the bodies and corpses of the fallen. But Slayer of Kings activated alongside Cascading Fire Cloak, and that's 952 weapon strength, now down to 905. And Archie hitting like a Mack truck, but now fully surrounded by Centigores. Groghooves going in, and that poison debuff not going to help out. Again, the Everchosen in mortal peril, and he needs to escape desperately. But he has high melee defense, and that's huge for him. It's one of the reasons why he's an effective duelist. He doesn't have the biggest health pool of any lord in the game, but on Dorgar, he's substantially higher than a lot of other duelists that have this same level of mobility. And that melee defense means that his effective health pool is quite large. He's not easy to kill. It's not easy for Taurox the Brass Bull to hit him. He's turned around and is now dealing with the Feral Manticore. Cascading Fire Cloak came out a little bit too late. Archaon had the room he needed to escape. And now Taurox is isolated in and amongst the Chaos Horde. Bray Shaman falls. Beastmen losing a lot of their most important units. But the balance of power is in their favor. Nothing new for the Cloven Ones. Actually, a lot of their troop choices are quite inflated on that balance of power bar. And that's definitely playing a factor here. But part of it is also that Taurox is a freaking beast. And now he has an opportunity to try and carry this game. Because he's not going to be getting much help from these Ungor herd or the remnants of the rest of the Bray herd. Beastmen are losing everywhere else. But Taurox is a force of nature. And the big question, can he clutch this one out? Fireball dealing negligible amounts of damage, as are these volleys from the Horsemasters. But there's nothing better to shoot at, right? Like, Taurox can't be healed here. He has no regen. He doesn't have the hunger. So get all your range troops, get close, and make sure those volleys land. Because even though they won't deal a lot of damage, any damage is good damage here, especially when Brass Body is not active. Oh my god, Taurox is on crusade right now. He is on a mission. Fireball from Archaon in the background, hitting the corpse of a Jabberslythe. You don't see that very often. Just completely blocking the magic missile on its way in. But I'm going to be curious to see how Chaos decides to handle Taurox. I mean, I think the smart play is to let Archaon sit back. Do not overcast a single spell. That is not worth it here. A miscast would possibly kill Archaon, or at least put him to the threshold of routing. So that isn't worth it. Just cast normal fireballs, which lack AP, which means they'll deal, as we saw, about 150 damage to the 130 armor of Taurox. But if you can cast, I don't know, 3-4 more of those, and get a couple more spear volleys in, perhaps you can have enough to get Taurox into a position where when you charge in and fully surround him, his leadership won't hold up. It's beginning to crumble a bit here. He's at 46 leadership right now. And I wouldn't even throw infantry in. I would get everything around him, try to avoid combat for as long as possible, fire everything in his general direction. And when Slayer of Kings is up, and Archaon's ready to duel for one last go, send them all in. So yeah, this is the part I don't really like. He's sending in the skirmish cav, but you might as well do that when Archaon's ready to duel. So he just had his Marauder Horsemasters round off. He could have had those units in there protecting Archaon and all engaging at once. So Slayer of Kings is active, Standard Die is active, Brass Body is active, and this is a duel of the gods. This is the chosen of the Ruinous Powers going at it here. Taurox up to 104 kills, just dropped to 880 HP, 78 melee attack, 71 melee defense. Slayer of Kings, Archaon's up to 823 weapon damage, majority armor piercing. His health pool is less than Taurox at the moment. He's dead. Is that it? That's game. Taurox had a 700 HP lead, and Brass Body carried him in those final moments. The 40% ward save and that extra 24 melee defense was just what the doctor ordered when you're up against one of the strongest duelists in Mortal Empires. And the fact that he's a monstrous lord, not a chaos pony riding motherlicka, meant that he had just enough health in the end game to carry it. Taurox is a freak of nature. He really is. Almost 3,000 damage value. I mean, Archaon, we do meme him. We do occasionally say never chosen, whatever. We know Archaon's good now. He's been good for a while. Ever since Slayer of Kings got buffed, he has been a solid choice for the Warriors of Chaos. I'm not sure he's quite on Codex level, but he can be. He's better in certain situations for sure. His wave clear is certainly better. Against some factions, Burning Head is super meta. But in this case, Taurox outdueled one of the best duelists in the game. I do wish Blood Ogmine had committed those Marauder Horsemasters at the exact same time as Archaon, because having bodies around you automatically means that Taurox or any single entity lord will shift targets occasionally. Even if you keep spamming attack orders on Archaon over and over again, sometimes they won't listen, or part of their splash attack will deal damage to the Marauder Horsemasters and not to your lord who only has a little bit of health left. Archaon possibly wins that duel if he lands one more attack with Slayer of Kings active if he takes one less hit. So, a little bit more patience there would have helped him a lot, but super enjoyable game. GG to both players, and I'll see you all in the next one.